Hello, this is Chief Trading Pilot at optionstradingpilot.com. Welcome. I also have our super awesome trader, John. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the Nancy Pelosi ETF. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's a little bit eye-opening. So we just wanted to review some of that, talk a little bit about the market. We're going to keep this short. The Powell Fed meeting happens today later on, so it's interesting that we're seeing a nice rise in the markets. The Nasdaq is up 1.7 and the SPY is up about 1.05%. So John?
Yes, hey, thanks. Good to see you. So yeah, we want to spend a little bit of time, and it's not a political statement. This is just looking at financials, and fortunately financials are bipartisan. So Nancy Pelosi, as you know, is the Speaker of the House. She made a lot of news at the end of the year about some stocks that she bought into using generally deep in the money call options. Deep in the money call options start looking or start feeling and acting like a synthetic stock. And so there's been a lot of talk on the Hill about should members of Congress invest their personal funds when they might be or could be seen as insiders. Me personally, I think the more we have our elected officials invested in technology and in the stock market, in Bitcoin and other alt currencies, I think the more they know about how the fundamentals work, I think the better they can make decisions. But I could argue the other side as well. If there is insider information, as like if you were a CEO of a company and you had insider information, you buy your stock, and there's definitely a lot of rules around that. So like most things, I can argue both sides, but I think net, having elected officials being able to invest, they do have to disclose, but they disclose after the fact. And we're going to take a look at a few things today. My premise, and people can disagree, but I think in general, yes, over time, maybe some of these individuals, I've seen different reports, like Pelosi, like the thing that's showing up on the screen right now, her ETF or what she's invested in versus SPY. It's always a little tricky because SPY is 500 or so stocks, a little bit over 500, and Pelosi has, a handful. And so it's not really comparing apples and apples to apples. But let's take a look. Guillermo, do you have that slide up, or the Excel file up, or I can just talk to it?
I'm gonna open it up here.
Okay. So as Guillermo's doing that, back at the end of December, I built a little spreadsheet just for myself, and Guillermo and I were looking at this, what she purchased, that's in column B, the number of calls and the strike price, and then the price of the stock on that day. So for instance, if you look at line 3, row 3, you have Google. She bought 10 calls at a strike of 2,000, and the price at that point was $28.56. So that gives you on column J a delta of about 91. So it's a deep in the money call. It acts like stock. It will move more like stock. So the premise is the argument that you hear from various people, and they're trying to pass a law now precluding senators, congressmen to not be able to trade in their own accounts. So we'll leave that on the table for now. So her cost of that trade for Google was about $936,000. Now we tabbed back about a month. The value of that trade today is $662,000. So what's happened is two things. One, you've had some time decay, but not very much because it is a September 16, 2022 option. But the big thing is the value of the Google has gone from 28.56 down 250 points to 25.94. So if you look at this overall portfolio, these are the ones, she has other ones. These are the ones at the end of the year that she disclosed. Google, MU, CRM, Disney, and RBLX.
We like all those, right, John? We like those.
I like all those, and we trade them all the time. And yeah, I mean, I'm more bullish now than I was a month ago. But, and this is kind of quick and dirty. This, I'm sure this doesn't agree exactly to her investment report as far as price she paid. You know, they don't have to disclose all of that, but I'm trying to get the estimate of what it was on that particular day.
But John, let me interrupt you real quick. You were a high level CPA. You know, you've worked for a number of years for, you know, the biggest companies in the world. So let me ask you this: don't companies have a financial statement for themselves and then the one that gets reported?
Well, they do have an internal set of books, and then that is generally changed into a format and disclosures for what's required by the regulatory body. You know, in our country, it's the SEC. It's not really two sets of books, but you have an internal set of books, and then you might adopt that for accruals or prepaids or other tax consequences. And then, of course, in the financials, you're looking at not only liabilities that are on the books, but you like in leases. So you're looking at balances, and so they're just different disclosures. Yeah, definitely.
The reason I bring that up is, you know, and I don't know the internals. I'm just a skeptical person at heart, right? So if this is getting disclosed, my question is, what isn't getting disclosed, right? So that's always. Sorry, that's mine.
Yes, I know what you're saying. I think they have pretty well. I assume they have pretty strict rules, and our congressmen, they're called congressmen, even though the women are congresswomen, but the vernacular is congressmen. So don't make bad comments to me. It's just what they use.
That has to be clarified nowadays, John.
Yeah. When I was did some work on the Hill, it was why not congresswomen, and they were like, well, it's always congressmen. So I'm hoping that the rules are being followed, and I think they're fairly strict with what's getting disclosed. You know, I have to go with that premise. And when I look at something like this, and now, of course, this is again somewhat of an unfair view. It's only been a month since she's owned this. This is only a snapshot of a few things that she traded. And honestly, we don't even know if she decided on this herself. Is she an options trader, or is it
probably not, right?
Yeah, someone in her family or an investment advisor, which is more likely. I don't think she has a big job. I don't think she has time to trade options. Right. Or maybe she doesn't even understand the intricacies of them, and that's okay. Most people don't. But if she knew what we know today, wouldn't she have waited a month, right? If insider information was really there, and if she really had an upper hand on the rest of us, I think she would have waited a month. She would have rather paid 1.6 million instead of 2.6 million for these what we're looking at on the screen. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. And just to provide a little more background, and obviously I don't know how true this is. I'm looking at a website called The Richest, and they put in the net worth of Nancy Pelosi at $120 million. And so it says here, and obviously I don't have anything to back this up. I'm just looking at this website, so don't shoot me. It says that Nancy Pelosi's growth from initial 21.7 million in 2009, it grew to 120 million. It's attributed to stock gains and smart investments. So, you know, the argument here, and this is something that I've looked at over time, and basically, if you get into the Senate, if you get into Congress, your net worth goes up. So for me, I'm always super skeptical, but to isolate this to these specific investments, I'm with you. Like if she actually did know something, she would have waited, right?
Right, right. And, it's funny, we do have Powell coming out this afternoon. And I've seen the studies, I've heard the commentary, not news commentary, but the statisticians and the engineers that are behind the numbers. Even if we knew the answer, what they were coming out with today, right now, you and I would have a 50-50 chance of knowing with which way the news could be. We're moving up 50 basis points, but what the market will do after that, we don't know. And so even if we had their script from today,
Sure.
we wouldn't know how the stock would move.
Right. And it's interesting you bring that up because we were watching closely yesterday the what is it, Microsoft earnings?
Yeah.
And when Microsoft came out with the earnings yesterday, the initial, even though the numbers were amazing, the initial hit was to 269. And then now it's at 299. So you're 100% right. Even if we know, what is going to happen. My greatest trade in the last year or so, John, was that I just happened to buy Zoom call options, and that joker went up 152 points overnight. I mean, so it's like each option made me like $1,800, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So you never know. So you're 100% right, John. Like even if we knew that they're going to do a rate hike. Now, if they surprise a rate hike, right? You anticipate 25 basis points and they hit 75 basis points, the market's going to tank. But obviously, when you say it's tongue in cheek, right? It's like people could still like that and just drive it up.
Right. So I think, like I said, I could argue both sides of.
Yeah, same here.
Should Congress individuals be able to buy and sell individual stocks? I could argue both sides. I don't think overall they have much information that is better than what we have. They might. So, we could just leave it at what it is. So in the last month, her account's down $1 million. Now, these are unrealized gains. We could see a big, nice takeoff here in all these stocks. All these stocks I like, right? I think long-term, each one of these can do really well, and some others in this space as well. And you do trade these as well, don't you, Guillermo?
Yeah, I really like CRM, that Roblox. It's one of those metaverse things that is super interesting to me. And so, at this price, Roblox, gosh, 67, 16. I was in Busch Gardens a couple weeks ago, and it was at like 80 something, and I actually bought some, and it went up, and I started to go down, and so I got out. So I actually made a little money, and then look at this price. Now it doesn't mean it can't go further down, but gosh, it'll behoove you to not take a little shot here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Of course, MU. We both have liked, MU a ton, right?
Yeah, MU at 83 seems like a bargain. Now, it'll seem like a bargain even more at 70, but this thing was screaming up to, did it get up to 100 or did it?
Yeah, it got to 98.45. But let me ask you, John, as a trader, right? and you and I both have long-term investments, right? That we don't really touch that much. Basically, we have companies that work with that, but then our trading account, and then there's another, like a mid account that I have that it's more or less individual stocks that I like, that I just kind of have there in ETFs. As a trader, what would you say you like, Micron Technologies here, and you go ahead and buy it. Like, what's your mindset? Like, what are you thinking here?
Well, if I'm looking at my trading account, if I was going to do options in MU, I would go back to our mechanics. What is the implied volatility? If it's over, generally, let's say if it's over 20, I'm selling premium. I'm not going to come in and buy a way in the money call necessarily. If I'm really bullish on the stock, this is a nice way to, what she has done is effectively owning the MU stock, but at a much lower price because she's doing it through stock options. And the challenge there, though, is your stock you can hold forever at no matter what value it is. Even if MU is 20, she still has value. If MU closes under 50, the strike under 50, it'll expire worthless. So all that money that she's bought into is a expiring asset over time. So, but if I was looking at MU right now, I'd look at the IVR. Most likely, I don't have it up on the screen, but their IVR is probably pretty high right now. And I'd be buying or selling a some kind of out of the money put spread or ratio spread, or maybe even naked. But right now, the downside, I want to protect my downside and reduce my risk. So I'd probably be doing a maybe 85, 75 or 85, 80 bull put spread.
That makes sense. And just so the people that are out there, the mechanics are really important. And that is because we are able to take premium, and in case we're wrong, we could still win that trade. And so we really believe in the idea of having that room to be wrong, but also trading small enough so that in case we're wrong, it's fine, right? And so we trade small and we just do a lot of trades. So that's kind of the gist of it. But you know, I really think that should be the foundation of your investments. And then you move up, you know, I see it like as a triangle, right? You move up the triangle to increase risk and less probability of winning. But when you do win, you win big. So, you know, but I would say, what do you say, John? 95% of our trading is selling premium, right?
I would say so. That's probably right. We are net, we're premium sellers.
Yeah.
We have time with us versus against us.
Right. And and to clarify that, that means that theta, which is a Greek, right, it pays us as time decay happens. So as that option gets closer to expiration, then theta is putting money in our pocket, that's why we trade, right? To put money in our pockets.
Another one of our mechanics, and it's not ours. It's been proven in the market with Tasty, and we try to go in 45 days. We open up a trade 45 days to expiration, and generally around 21 days to expiration, we're out. So what Pelosi has done here, where she has bought premium, so she is actually paying for time, and then she's going way out. We generally do not make those types of trades.
Right.
Mechanically.
Yeah, those are tough trades to do. And so let's say, you know, we've heard of this poor man's covered call, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're Pelosi, right, would you be doing a little bit of that? For example, if we follow the mechanics right now, we're selling the March 18th, and it's 48. So we're expecting a 12-point move or so in Micron Technologies from here until March 18th. And so would you sell a call $12 out or so, $10 out? So we're at, you know, 80, let's say the 95 call, if you sold it as a 22 delta, is paying about 150 bucks. She could sell 100 of those, couldn't she?
Yeah, can you show that on your screen? Yeah. Right now I'm seeing just the Excel file.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
yeah, right here is the one that I'm talking about, March 18, 95. You can even go down here. And so I know we have mismatching dates on that, but you know, that's okay. Like if push came to shove, then you just deal with putting the money in. But overall, it's like hitting 97.5 for the MU when it's sitting at 83. That she could make some money back, right? Is it worth the
Right.
risk here?
You know, it has a 17 delta.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad way to go, right? So she can reduce her basis by doing the poor man covered call.
Yeah.
Would not be my first option in trading, but since where she is on her supposedly where she is on these positions that we talked about, that might be a strategy where she's selling. And what happens if you're not familiar with the poor man's covered call, since she owns the stock synthetically, it's not a perfect one-to-one delta, but she owns the stock synthetically. She can actually go and sell a covered call against that like she owned the stock. And in this case, she could get $1.11 for each contract. So 100, she has 100 contracts. And then
$11,000.
yeah, 10, and then she only 17% chance of getting hit on those. So it's not a bad strategy. And then what happens is 21 days before we get to March, which you get about, let's call it a month from now, it doesn't get up to
97.5.
97, then you do it again. So when you roll these off, instead of you're selling March, you buy them back, then you do April, buy them back, you do May and buy them back, and that's a good way to reduce your basis.
No, that's good. That's really good. And so, you know, what I hope our viewers are listening to is that there are mechanics, right? There are ways to methodically make money. And so it ends up being that there's more than one way to skin a cat, but the way we do it mechanically is it puts the odds heavily on our side. And so, you know, to be clear, we don't win every trade, but we win a lot of trades. And yeah, the past 3 weeks have been very difficult for premium sellers, right? Unless you were selling bear calls, which, you know, truth be told, the market goes up 70% of the time. So the number of bear calls you want to be doing should be reduced versus the number of bull puts that you're doing. And if you don't know what that is, well, come visit us at www.optionstradingpilot.com and we'll show you how to work on that. And our win rates are really high on those. But our profit margin is slow on that part of the triangle. Obviously, I also like to scalp. You know, I put in a lot of scalp trades in there. More, you know, a lot riskier, but when you do win, you know, you can win handsomely and make up for those losses.
Yeah, you are the scalping expert.
Yeah, I actually, I find it, you know, and to be candid, it's like I am holding a lot of cash right now. And so I'm just waiting for this Powell news here and see what we're going to do. I'm not in a hurry to put it all to work. I think there's a little volatility here going forward, probably in the next few days. So, but I won't be worrying about entering trades and then earnings plays. Yeah, I'm probably a little more hesitant right now with earnings plays just because of where we are volatility wise in the market. I think there's a lot of more downside plays than upside plays, but that could change after today, which we're hoping so. And it, you know, this turn for the better today with the NASDAQ up 2.13%. That's a good move. I think we are probably out of the woods here. But then again, it's like, it's really nice. You know, I think I have one trade going, like truly, that's pretty significant, which is that TQQQ call that I did. And that's in the money now. So anyway, I just cut it before the meeting. I mean, maybe I'll cut 3 of them and write one for free is what I'll do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anything else, Guillermo, before we sign off?
I think that's good. I mean, I think for the next show, I really want to talk about these shroom boom stocks. You know, I really want to get into that. So, hey, we're here for you guys. Bring us questions. We're gonna hit those, those areas. I was talking a little bit about different investments, and somebody brought up these shroom stocks a couple of days ago, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't thought about them that way, so we should hit that up next, John.
Well, it's interesting, and Guillermo and I are not druggies, but we have traded in the pot stocks, and 6 months ago or so, I started looking at I call it the psychedelic markets, and I'm not for open, I don't know what they call it, street use or whatever, but the medicinal uses of drugs that are I guess currently still illegal. We have a lot of technology these days, and I think it's something that it would be good to look at for individuals that need help in specific areas. And they're looking at some of these shrooms and LSD and some of these other stocks and some other chemicals that I can't pronounce, but looking for ADHD, anxiety, depression. There's a lot of things that are kind of unique diseases that they're trying to tackle with some of these. So we're going to investigate that, both individual stocks and the ETFs that are invested in those next podcast.
All right. Well, like us, subscribe, come join us at www.optionstradingpilot.com. We'll be there, answer your questions. All right.
Great.
Goodbye, guys.
Good to see you.
See you, man.